Welcome to Season 2 of Red Sox Digest, the only show where pain, sarcasm, and false hope collide nightly, like a Masataka Yoshida ground out to second. We break down every loss, every meltdown, and the occasional win, with sarcasm, facts, and no front office spin. Subscribe today at RedSoxDigest.com, or keep wondering how a wildcard team spent an entire offseason avoiding power hitters. And now, here's the crew at Red Sox Digest.
Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to another edition of Red Sox Digest. I am your host tonight, Jim Delfino. And folks, before we begin, let's start with the fact that I'm the only Red Sox fan who hates the Yankees so much that I floss with Derek Jeter rookie cards. I wake up every morning, brush my teeth, look in the mirror, and whisper, David Ortiz broke your franchise. I've held grudges longer than the Yankees hold on to 2009. I'm basically the human version of the Green Monster if the Green Monster had unresolved trauma from Aaron Boone. Joining me tonight is Nick Face. Nick, who treats spring training losses like Game 7 of the ALCS. This guy will see a 22-year-old prospect strike out in the 7th inning of a Grapefruit League game and start a 14-tweet thread about organizational failure. He's in mid-February form arguing with a Twins fan from Duluth like it's life or death. Nick doesn't hate losing. Nick hates oxygen if it exists during a Red Sox loss. And if a Yankee fan chirps, forget it, he's drafting a constitution. Also joining us tonight is John Martinello. John sees 3 innings of random baseball in spring training and goes, well, if you look at the exit velocity trend from instructional league, ... Meanwhile, I'm over here just trying to remember who's wearing number 97. John sees the game 3 innings ahead, while the rest of the franchise sees 1 beer behind. He's measured, he's thoughtful, and he still hates the Yankees, which is really the only credential that matters. All right, let's get into it. Spring training so far. Your Boston Red Sox are doing what spring training teams do, winning some, losing some, and convincing us that 3 random at-bats means someone is either a future Hall of Famer or needs to be shipped to Worcester immediately. Today's game against the Twins was a classic March baseball, only in February. A little sloppy, a little promising, a little, why is this guy batting cleanup? You saw flashes, a couple of good swings, some young arms getting work in, a bullpen inning that looked like poetry, following one that looked like a little league carpool. And that's the beauty of it. We've already written up the first few games, and what's clear through the first stretch is this. The offense looks deeper. Not 2004 parade down Boylston Street deep, but competitive. Maybe professional. You're seeing better at bats. Fewer of these 3-pitch I have dinner reservation strikeouts. The pitching, that's the big storyline. Starters are stretching out. Velocity readings that make you lean forward in your chair. And yes, a couple innings where command left the chat. But overall, more swing and miss, more purpose. Let's pray for contact. The young guys are making noise. Prospects are doing what prospects do, showing you just enough to make you irrationally excited. And the veterans starting to look comfortable, which is something we did not say consistently last year. And let's not overreact either way. It is spring. The Yankees fans are probably printing World Series t-shirts because they won a Tuesday matinee in Tampa. Meanwhile, we're evaluating approach, depth, and roster battles. This team feels balanced, not flashy, not desperate, maybe balanced. And that matters because through these first few games, including today against Minnesota, there's something different in the air. And it stinks. It's not hype, it's competence. And after the last couple seasons, I'll probably take competence. That said, it's time for us all to face the facts.
It's time for Face the Facts, where excuses get laughed out of the room, your feelings are irrelevant, and your opinion probably doesn't matter. No spin, no cope, just the facts. And now, your esteemed host, Nick Face.
All right, guys. I want to first say I have not had a good night's sleep since a certain something came out from our fantastic network known as NESN. Jim, play it.
It's not playing the actual. Yeah, it's not playing the actual video. But go ahead.
Oh, guys, I tweeted it out. I shared it with you guys. I have had nightmares. I'm not even joking. I've had nightmares since this thing came out. It is the most cringeworthy, disgusting, vile piece of media I have seen NESN come out with yet to promote the Red Sox. Baseball is back. Sox are undefeated. Life is good. With this cringeworthy circus clown music. So I'm going back and forth with Jim, Thayer, and John in the chat. And I was like, you know what, guys? I've never done acid before in my life, but this is an acid trip right here. It's exactly what it is. But then I thought about it a little bit more. And my typical disgusting humor that I usually have, my dryness to me. You know what this is, guys? This is the 30th reunion of the Teletubbies. That's what this is. You got John Henry as Dipsy, the moron. You've got Sam Kennedy as Tinky Winky, has no clue what he's doing. You got Tom Caron as Poe on the little scooter. And then you have Lala as who did I say? Sam Kennedy? Uh-oh. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. That's what this organization is. That's what we are. We're the Teletubbies. So fasten your seatbelt in for the 2026 season because the Teletubbies are right here. There they are. And I think you got Wally and Tessie. It's so cringeworthy. It's just deplorable. I know they're trying to get a laugh out of it, but all this did to me is outraged me. I'm not kidding. I haven't slept since this stupid thing came out. It's embarrassing. I'm ashamed. And I can't believe that Tom Caron agreed to do something like this. If I was Tom Caron, I'd get up in my seat and I'd leave. It's that bad. I wish we could have played the thing, but folks, if you didn't get a chance to play that, don't. Do yourself a favor.
Yeah, it certainly was. That's about as cringeworthy as you can get from a broadcast. I can't believe when I saw that.
Pumping and chirping. Oh, yep. Here we go. We got our win. Spring training. Here we go. Dance-a-thon.
I honestly thought I was watching Sesame Street. I got to be honest.
I'll tell you, the Teletubbies. Uh-oh.
Nick's Face the Facts is brought to you by the Missing Power Bat Foundation. If you or a loved one has been personally victimized by a ball that sounded like a no-doubter, had the launch angle, had the exit velocity, had the bat flip started, and then died gently in the warning track like it ran out of gas on I-95, help is available. Our trained professionals are standing by to reassure that the underlying metrics are strong. Remember, warning track power is not a personality trait. Call now. Operators are standing by with charts, spray diagrams, and a candlelight vigil for every 387-foot fly out to right center. The Missing Bat Power Foundation, because at some point, someone needs to clear the wall. And with that said, it is now time for the Martinello Minute.
And now, the part they don't want said out loud. No spreadsheets or corporate spin, just the truth, raw and impatient. This is the Martinello Minute.
So unlike Nick, I wasn't rage baited or, went insane over that video. I'm still on the youth side, so I found it funny. But right. Not something I'm gonna be. Yeah, see you, Nick. Not something I'm gonna be playing every single night before I go to bed like Nick does. But
it's the new Sweet Caroline.
I'll play that.
Oh God, help us all!
I won't play it in the 7th inning when we're down by 8 runs, but they do at Fenway.
Oh.
But so we're 4 or 5 games into spring training now. And one thing that I see a ton on Twitter is people overreacting about every single thing. Ranger Suarez gives up a home run. Johan Oviedo, 3 walks, hits a guy. Brian Bayo's changeup is just a slow sinker. It's getting lit up. The only questions you should be asking during spring training and still take with a grain of salt are the guys hitting the ball hard? Are the pitchers hitting their spots? Do their pitches look different? Do they have their velocity? Do they have their command? Are the batters hitting the ball on the ground, or are they hitting the ball in the air? Are they chasing out of the zone? Are they swinging at strikes? Your batting average, on base, slugging. Don't worry about that, honestly, until May 1st. Even April, I wouldn't worry about those statistics. But with that being said, I'm going to dive into kind of things that I've liked so far through the first week of games in the Grapefruit League. Connerly early off the top, 2 innings, 1 strikeout, 1 walk, 4 whiffs. Every single pitch he threw was averaged at about a mile an hour up from what it was last year. Mikey Romero, who we're going to get into later, his defense has looked really strong so far, and his hitting the ball hard. He's hitting the ball off the ground, and he's not swinging at balls. One question that I know that we'll bring up later, is he going to be a trade piece, or is he going to be depth behind Marcelo Meyer? Moving on, Jarren Duran has looked incredible thus far. He's a guy that me, along with Jim and Nick, both wanted the Red Sox to trade this past offseason, and I'm sure they'll agree with me that we wanted him gone the offseason before when he had that incredible trade value. But he's been lighting up pitchers, line drives all over the place. He's not swinging for home runs like he got to a point with last year. Quote from Alex Cora, "I know it's early, but Duran seems like a different hitter. Hitting the ball really hard, pull side, getting to some pitches that last year he probably didn't get to. I'm expecting a lot of big things from him." Alex Cora typically in the past hasn't had a lot of praise for Jarren Duran at all. I think that they haven't necessarily seen eye to eye. So Cora this early saying something this positive on Duran gives me the sense of ease that, we're going to see hopefully something closer to a 2024 version of Duran this year. Moving on, the bullpen that we've had a ton of questions about in the offseason. The major league guys, at least so far, have looked great, especially Greg Weissert, who threw yesterday. He's working from the third base side of the rubber now. It's going to take a lot for me to even consider Weissert in a high leverage moment this year, but 2 strikeouts in 1 inning. He only threw 8 pitches in his 1 appearance so far, so that looks great. Garrett Whitlock looks like how he did last year, hasn't missed a beat. Had a clean inning versus the Blue Jays, another clean inning today. He topped out at 95. Giovanni Moran, who he's the only left-handed pitcher right now that we know is probably going to be in the bullpen. He threw an inning versus the Blue Jays, had a strikeout, and had 2 weak groundouts. Justin Slayton had his second outing today. His control could be a little bit better, but his first appearance today. So his control was not bad, not great. But his curveball looked good, and he's added a splitter to his arsenal. He topped out at 97. Ceddanne Rafaela looks good, like how he did last spring, like how he did in the first half of the season last year. Hit a home run against the Pirates. He's pulling the ball. If we remember last season when his offensive numbers sort of tanked in the second half, he was getting beat consistently, hitting the ball weakly to the right side. So looks like he's put on a couple pounds. And last year he said that he lost 15 to 20 pounds. So him retaining weight throughout the season is going to be super important. And then Wilyer Abreu, we could get into this later. A lot of stuff come out on him. The contract extension, him hitting against lefties and whatnot this year. A whole lot of nugs on him that I'm sure that we'll get into.
Yeah, a lot of stuff there. And we'll definitely dive in as we go along. And that said, the Martinello Minute is brought to you by the Martinello Minute Crystal Ball, now with built-in bullpen implosion alerts. The key features include predicting pitching changes 2 hitters early, detects when a 3-1 count is about to become a 450-foot souvenir, and automatically whispers this is a mistake when a lefty faces a righty with a 912 OPS. The Martinello Minute Crystal Ball. See the inning before it happens. I want to get into a few things today that seem to be pressing in the spring. And I think I'm going to start off with probably the biggest elephant in the room, and that is our number 1 draft pick from 2020, right? The guy that is the highest draft pick that the Red Sox have ever had in the history of their franchise. And that is California-based Marcelo Mayer, who Ben Cherington, I might remind you guys, passed on when he had the number 1 pick in that season. Yep. Marcelo Mayer has not been a healthy guy. He is not in every position and every level of baseball in his professional career, has never played an entire season without an injury, including his call-up from last year in 2025. Marcelo Mayer still hasn't played in a spring training game so far. And this is what I want to say. Even though the Sox have already played a few Grapefruit League games, top prospect Marcelo Mayer hasn't made a spring training game appearance yet. That's not an injury mystery. Mayer himself explained he's been focusing on live batting practice and getting his wrist right before being thrown into games. Manager Alex Cora hinted that Mayer still has to earn a big role this spring, saying the bat and the glove work comes before game action. Expect him to finally debut later this week and build up around and get a build up, and that is a thing. Nick, I'm going to start with you. What are your thoughts and reactions to the fact that we haven't seen Mayer? Is he ready? Is he going to get this job as a middle infielder on the opening day roster? What's your thoughts?
One word. Worcester. It's coming, guys. He's not ready. I have never given this comp before, and it's not really a baseball comp, but for some reason, I don't know why, every time I look at Marcelo Mayer, I think Uncle Jesse from Full House. I don't know why. I just do. And I remember him as the character. Again, I'm just being funny with this stuff. If it's real, it's whatever. Uncle Jesse could not play sports to save his life. I'm not saying Marcelo Mayer can't. What I'm saying here is that we have a big unknown. We have a big mystery here on which version of Marcelo Mayer we're going to get. Are we going to get the guy, like Jim said, who was the highest draft pick that the Red Sox have had in history? He got passed upon quite a few times, and Chaim Bloom had him right there. It didn't have to be Chaim Bloom in that seat to pick Marcelo Mayer. He was just there. But the biggest question on this is the durability side of things. Him not being ready already for spring training right now, even though he's doing live BP and stuff, is a massive red flag on the play for me. I think it's going to take him time. Do I think he'll come up to the majors again? Yes. But I think we need to see him develop, get into a consistent rhythm in Worcester, show that he can stay on the field, and then think about what's going to happen at the big league level. I think that the Red Sox are focused more on Durbin at third base and Connor Falefa over at second. Yeah, in a way, kind of. But I don't know. He was just, I saw a clip of it a couple days ago, and I'm like, oh, he looks like Uncle Jesse. Just something stupid in my humor that I love to think about. But yeah, that's what I think on Marcelo Mayer. Do I think the talent's there? Yes. I'm not giving up on Marcelo Mayer. I don't want to hear comments that say, oh, this jerk over here is giving up on him. I'm not doing that. And the Red Sox certainly have not given up on him either. If they had given up, we already would have seen him traded out of here. Let's be real. We would have, and we didn't. They got to get him right. They got to get him healthy. And I think the only way to do that is to make sure developmental wise, he is 100% ready to hit the ball in the big leagues, field the ball, show he can stay on the field. You got to do that. You got to prove that over in Worcester, in my opinion.
Well, one of the things that they talked about on the Felger and Maz show too about Mayer was, and again, this is hyperbole, that he's not a Craig Breslow guy. He's a Chaim Bloom guy, so they trying to hold him back for that reason. I mean, it would be ridiculous. But here's the question. I want to get your take too, John, but I also want to add this in. If you were fully invested in having Marcelo Mayer be your second baseman to start the season, why, and I know what you'll probably have as an answer, but why did you spend $6 million on IFK?
Yeah, I mean, to answer that specifically, it's just depth. And I think that if you go back a month or so, when you make the IKF signing and when a week later you get the Durbin trade, if they knew the Durbin trade was going to happen, I don't think that they sign IKF for $6 million.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that deal, I'd assume, and I'm sure within the next couple months we'll get more details on it once the season opens up. But I think that trade, I'd assume that the Brewers just came calling saying we want Kyle Harrison, and I'd assume it's something that came up in just a matter of hours. So I think before then, and as we said on the show, after IKF got signed, it's he was going to be the platoon bat with Mayer at second base, and then Durbin comes along, and then now all of a sudden or my bad, Durbin was going to be, or IKF was going to be the third baseman, Mayer was going to be at second base, or vice versa, and then Durbin comes along, and now IKF could be the backup for shortstop behind Story if he gets injured. He could platoon at second base. He could platoon at third base if needed. If somehow all 7 outfielders get hurt, he could even go play in the outfield. But to go back earlier to your question on where's he going to start the season, I think that he's going to be the opening day second baseman. Nursing this wrist injury that happened last year, I don't really see a need for him to, or a problem with why he hasn't played in any games yet. If you're coming back from an injury, make sure that you're 110% ready to go before you take your first plate appearance. That's what he's been doing. He's been in the backfields, taking grounders, hitting. He's in the cages working on the Traject machines. And yeah, he starts, I think they said on Friday. But I think there's no reason to be concerned about him not playing yet. He's getting his work every day. All the guys are going to go away to play in the World Baseball Classic in a week or so, and we're going to see a ton of Marcelo Mayer before the season starts.
I said this on the show, probably, I think it was the end of last year, probably November, December, maybe even earlier in January, but I'm in the camp that Marcelo Mayer should start the season in Worcester, like Nick said. And here's the reason for it. Not to, shit can him or anything like that. I really think that the Red Sox need to know if he can stay healthy for an entire season. We really don't know he can do that. And we also don't know if he has improved against left-handed pitching. The defense is there, okay? I don't think any of us on this show or most Red Sox fans would even deny the fact that he isn't, major league ready with the glove, and maybe even Gold Glove caliber. I mean, he was very smooth when he played, but the bat is the issue, and we can't afford to have another middle infielder that's defensive first and a platoon guy. We need to have an everyday starting middle infielder, and we keep losing them. I mean, John, you said it last year. We had 2, all-star third basemen on the team at the same time. We have none now. All these rumors about getting Ketel Marte or Nico Horner or, a lot of these other guys, we got nothing. We got Durbin finally, but, we've been having this round robin of middle infielders and first basemen. And unfortunately, shortstops too because of injury. So this entire infield really has not had a core in quite some time.
It hasn't been consistent.
No, it hasn't been consistent with a core that you can, end the season in October and know exactly who the infield's going to be the next year. It just doesn't happen.
Funny. It's funny what happens when you get rid of Xander Bogaerts and Rafi Devers. It's funny what happens, isn't it, folks? Yeah. Isn't it great? It's fun.
Yeah, but Jim, I think that you kind of helped my point out a little bit with me saying that he's going to be the opening day second baseman when you say, you don't know after the season ends in October who's going to be your infielders for the next season. Mm-hmm. And Alex Cora brought it up a couple weeks ago that he wants to figure out who's going to be the starting second baseman, starting third baseman earlier than later, because, especially up the middle when, the shortstop and the second baseman, they need to have a lot of chemistry together to work well throughout the season, to, make those double plays, to communicate with each other on balls up the middle. And, if it's not going to be Marcelo Meyer, who is it going to be? You have Campbell, who I doubt they're ever going to allow in the infield again. You have Romy Gonzalez, who's, as far as we know, not showing up until maybe sometime around June. And then you have IKF, who gives you nothing at the plate. And then you have Monasterio, who's obviously a platoon bat. And outside of that, you have Nate Eaton and Nick Sogard, who are quadruple A guys. So if the Red Sox want to have a solidified infield and want to have guys that are going to be playing there 5 or 6 days a week, it has to be Meyer at second base.
Yeah, listen, I mean, it's the de facto. That's the thing. But you know what? Just for ha-has, I did see something come across yesterday that the Red Sox are still talking about Nico Horner. I don't know if there's anything to that. I can't imagine that anything like that would happen unless the Cubs really become desperate because they know they're going to lose the guy. So, obviously the candle's not out on that yet 100%, I suppose. That being said,
can I say one thing before you go to the next thing on John's thing with the whole chemistry? In a perfect world, we'd love that with Story and whoever it's going to be at second base, having that rhythm and having that. In a way, it's almost like a repertoire, knowing your steps, knowing your position, knowing where you can trust that other player to be at all times. We were even going into spring training last season with the big unknown on who's even going to be going to shortstop. What is Story going to do? Mm-hmm. So at least I guess we can say we can count on Story being ready to go. I would assume that's at least one given. The next thing is figuring out what the rhythm is going to be like with Connor Falefa. What's it going to be like with Marcelo Meyer? In my eyes, I would think Trevor Story is lobbying for Marcelo Meyer. I think that is in his perfect world is his guy he wants to see there at second base.
Probably.
But I think what Cora is probably trying to do here is push and to get that to happen. Because I don't think he wants to just come out and flat out say, I'm giving this to you. The other big unknown again is Romy Gonzalez. Is figuring out what the heck's going to happen with him. And I agree there with John. I like mid-May to June for him with the shoulder. And don't be surprised if the shoulder is going to need surgery. Because I haven't said anything about that right now. They're saying rehab, get it stronger, getting into a spot where he can swing the bat. I guess they're going to try it out next week. We don't know on that. Christian Campbell, again, unknown on what's going to happen there. And then we've had Ceddanne Rafaela at second base as well over the years. So that's like almost in a way flip a coin on who's playing second base right now. Yeah. And it's scary.
Yep.
I love consistency.
Yeah, I'm still the camp to have him start in the minors only for that reason of showing he can be healthy and then maybe hopefully be able to hit really strongly like Roman Anthony did and force the Red Sox hand to draw him and purchase his contract for the Major League roster. Just switching gears a little bit, Mikey Romero, who follows me on Twitter, by the way, he's having a pretty good spring so far. I don't know if you guys have looked at his numbers, but John, I'll start with you. You think there's an outside chance he could be the second baseman to start the season?
Unless Meyer again with him with the injuries, but unless Meyer gets, hurt at some point this spring, I don't see the reason, even if he were to get hurt, that Mikey Romero for opening day would be a candidate. And as I just mentioned, there's a ton of guys who can play second base. Can they be a major league second baseman for 3 months? That's a question to be answered that I don't want to know the answer to. But there's a ton of guys that are on the 40 man already that have experience in the infield. So Romero for me, I don't see a path, but if injuries are a thing, which they have been, especially in the infield for years now, I could definitely see a July, August. I don't think that Romero's too far away from being major league ready.
Nick, your thoughts on Mikey Romero?
So just to give some folks a little history here on the whole story on Mikey Romero. So the Red Sox promoted him from AA Portland to AAA Worcester. That was last August 1st. Between Portland and Worcester, he had an OPS of 752 in 111 games. What they like on him is that versatility. They like the ability to play short, second, and third. And just so we know, he also put on 12 pounds in the offseason. Pretty impressive 4,000 calorie per day diet. How about that? I don't think I could do that. He was Boston's in 2022 first round draft pick. And right now in the Red Sox, the system, he is ranked number 18 entering 2026. And the Red Sox prospects.com ranks him 12. Baseball America is what's ranking him number 18 for Boston right now. So he's got some hope, I would say. I wouldn't put it as impossible for him to be on this roster, but I do think it's an outside shot because something catastrophically has to go wrong, meaning injury or something, whether it's to Durbin or Story or maybe Marcelo Meyer can't get healthy or something. We don't want any of that to happen. So I'm just saying this. I don't want any of that to happen. But if that does, number one, that's not a good thing. Then they would have to be tested for depth. We all know that we got tested way too much last season with depth, specifically at the pitching spot. I would love to see a season for us to go through as little call-ups as we have to. I'd love to see some consistency. So
yeah, I think we had 68 call-ups last season, and that was just on the pitching.
I think it was. So overall, I think it would be a neat story. But he just came up to Worcester. We got to see what he does there.
Sticking with this theme, Brendan Rodgers was injured. Rodgers was removed Wednesday's Grapefruit League contest against the Twins due to right shoulder pain. Christopher Smith of MassLive.com reported Rodgers looks to be in a considerable amount of pain after injuring his shoulder when he reached for the ball following a diving attempt at second base. Subsequent strength tests were positive, and there is no imaging scheduled. 29-year-old has undergone major surgery on both shoulders in the past, with an operation on the right one back in 2019 because of a torn labrum. Nick, I'll start with you. We haven't seen that much of Rodgers. I mean, there's another candidate that could probably make the roster if he's healthy and, maybe be in that mix for second base.
Yeah, it's kind of like Romy Gonzalez stunt double.
Mm-hmm.
It was an injury today that happened that reminded me of 2 years prior when Trevor Story dove for that ball in Anaheim for the Angels. And we all know the story, no pun intended, on what happened to Trevor Story after that, lost the season from that point. I think that this is more of a depth piece for the Red Sox. If there was going to be anything there at Brendan Rodgers to find a roster spot, I personally don't see how he could make the team currently right now with what is assembled. I just don't see a place. I feel bad for the injury. I'm curious to see what comes of it. And if anything, it's going to be one of those guys that's probably going to be in Worcester as another option to call up when something happens to a player. But but you never want to see a player go out on an injury, something like that. So we hope for the best for him.
John, your thoughts on Brendan Rodgers?
Yeah, honestly, as far as I'm concerned, no, I'm pretty sure offensively he was having, in the 5 or so at bats that he was producing pretty decently at the plate. But yeah, that play today, weak line drive over to his glove hand side, dives for it, actually caught the ball, popped out after he made contact with the grounds. But exactly what Nick said, pretty much frame for frame the same thing that we saw from that Trevor Story injury against the Angels and on 10 games into 2024. So immediately, like, obviously you never root for an injury, especially when a guy's on your team. Just it hurt to see, because this is a guy that's trying to make his way back to a major league roster. He's been a spot guy, plug and play type of guy ever since the 2023 season. And he hasn't really found his footing anywhere, hasn't really found a home. So I hope that as Christopher Smith reported, it doesn't seem too serious, which is great to hear. And I hope that, once he, hopefully it's not too long of a injury for him. Hopefully he's back on the field and gets a ton of games to play. And whether the Red Sox select him, get him on the opening day roster, or they release him, I just hope that he finds somewhere to play for the season.
Well, I'll give you kind of a medical side of things. If the Red Sox do believe that an X-ray isn't necessary, because they didn't say anything about even an MRI, but I think they did say something that they won't even do an X-ray on him. That's telling, because X-rays are very common, and with any of these guys that are making quite enough money with being in sports, something like an X-ray right away would be something you'd want to do. Evidently they did enough orthopedic tests to see. And the first thing you want to think about is a separated shoulder, AC joint, GC joint, something like that. And obviously they didn't see anything that was necessary at that point. So that's promising from that point on, but I'm sure a little bit of rest, ice, compression, and, we'll take it, probably at the end of the weekend, and they'll see if he can throw. Moving on a little bit more to the pitching side of things. The Boston Red Sox have spent the last number of years, it's even more than that, but you get my point, spending money on what I call reclamation projects. These are guys that would not have a job anywhere else, and they sign a contract with the Boston Red Sox and get paid to rehab here. Liam Hendricks, James Paxton. You can go down that list. We've been down that rabbit hole a million times. Patrick Sandoval is one of those fellows. He is coming off a major injury, and it is looking like he might be a potential guy that could be in this rotation, or at least on this staff in 2026. However, the Red Sox went out and acquired 3 starting pitchers this offseason. And obviously we're talking about Sonny Gray, Johan Oviedo, and Ron Guerra or Ranger Suarez. My question, Nick, I'll start with you. Is Patrick Sandoval, let me put it this way. I'll start with my take first. I think there's a very strong chance that he's the number 5 starter if he can show he's healthy in spring training, because they're paying him the money and because guys like Oviedo have options. Just a hot take. What do you think?
Can I laugh?
Sure.
That may be one of your worst hot takes, Jim, I've ever heard out of that mouth. This guy has no business being a member of the Red Sox. I'm sorry. I've never been a fan. I am not going to be a fan. He is not going to make the team. He out of here. Just looking at what he's done over his career. Okay. He's been with the Angels.
You get the Costas. You get the Costas now.
Yeah, great. I'll just go put my Spider-Man suit on in a minute. Mm-hmm. Now, looking at his career, since he was with the Angels, he started in 2019. 2024, that's when he went 2-8 with a 5.08 with the Angels. Now, I know it was the Angels. The Angels have not been a great team for a long time, but the year prior, 7-13, a 4.11 ERA. Originally was kind of mop up bullpen when he first came up, and then they tried to lengthen him out rather in the 2022 and 2023 season. And then 2024 came, and then that's when it all came crumbling down. I am ready to take a pass. I want to sell. I want to get him out. I just don't see how he can make this team because I don't personally think you're going to get anything out of him. I think he's one of those guys, like you said, Jim, that gets signed by the Red Sox, rehabs, tries to get himself back into the game, and the game is done for him. Goodbye, Patrick. And the last name Sandoval says it all I need to know on that. Goodbye, Sandovals. Get out of my life. I'm all set.
Look, let me expand on that take. The reason why I brought that up is because this Red Sox team and this ownership and management are not like they were in the early 2000s where they would just steamroll people with money. It didn't matter what happened, whether they got value for a player or not. And they're so unlike that way of running their team now than they were 20 years ago. So I just there's something that eats at me down deep that says this stupid team will want to get its money's worth and they'll do something with him, or they'll have him pitch because they're going to want to show that he's healthy enough so that they can try to move him at some point. I don't know the actual luxury tax implication number right now. I think they're at somewhere at 265, 270 is what I'm reading online. I know he's about 19 million. That would take them under that second luxury tax. They're the type of team that would do that.
They would. It's just sick that they even paid that much money for him. That's what I don't get. It's ridiculous. Why was this contract even given out? It is the one contract out of the last 3 or 4 seasons of contracts that were given out to players that you look at and you say, WTF?
No, that's Liam Hendriks.
What are we doing? Yeah, that Liam one too.
That's
He's in the same thing.
Yeah, Yoshida.
The biggest one. I'd say in the top 5, Patrick Sandoval for me is one of those where I look at and say, what are we doing? Like,
the only difference with Yoshida was he was healthy. We just didn't know he couldn't hit or pitch or catch. John, your thoughts on Sandoval?
Yeah, I mean, as simple as you could put it, I think that what the Red Sox really want out of him is, get his starts in over this next month, in Fort Myers, show that he's healthy, show that he could pitch in the MLB, and then hopefully a team takes a stab at him. I don't see how any avenue as to where he'll ever. I won't say ever, but I don't see where, barring injuries, he fits into the rotation. I don't know if he's the type of guy that would accept a role in the bullpen. But considering that there's one left-handed pitcher in the bullpen right now, if he's willing to, I could see him coming out of there. But as a starter, I have Early above him. I have Tolley above him.
I have Cutter Crawford above him too.
Yeah, Crawford's another one that is kind of obviously not on the contract, but in the same boat of as him. There's a ton of guys that are cheaper, have more control, and when it comes down to it, like the last time that he showed that he was a good pitcher in Major League Baseball was in 2022. So, hopefully he gets his starts in the spring. He shows something, and the Red Sox are able to move on from him.
I like Cutter Crawford in the bullpen. I think he could replace the Whitlock experiment of being a multi-inning pitcher. I think that would be, he would be a weapon there for any of the starting rotation that can't go deep 6-7 innings, something like that. Moving right along, I want to talk about old friend of ours, Triston Casas, the guy that makes the guy that makes my stomach turn on a nightly basis. Triston Casas, this was Chris Cotillo on X Twitter, had extension offer from the Red
on.
had offers from the Red Sox heading into 24, but nothing was enticing. I don't have any regrets, it says, about the way that I handled the situation. In the moments that I was not agreeing to anything long-term, I felt like I could take the field and post an 850 OPS rolling out of bed. I was just that confident, and I still think I'm that type of player. Nick, he should rename his name. He should change his name to the Narcissist.
I think he needs his brain examined for CTE. I seriously do. So, I don't know if it's naive is the right word, or if it's in love with himself or overconfident or something about that. But dude, what have you done here? What? Rolled on the field at Fenway and sunbathed? That's your biggest accomplishment.
He is a self-centered narcissist, and I can't stand the people on Red Sox Twitter that come after me all the time that say, you don't like him because he paints his fingernails. No, jackwad. That's not why I don't like him. If the guy hit 280, 290 with 35 home runs for the last, if he was JD Martinez, Nick, John, if he was JD Martinez
happy with
every single year, I would just be like, yeah, whatever. He paints his nails. It's not something for me, but it is what it is.
Production. It's
but
production based.
Production. And not only does he not have the production, but he keeps putting his foot in his mouth every single time that there's any interaction with him, from carrying a box like it's a 1987 boom box to just having a spew fest on Instagram that basically should have been in a foreign language because it didn't make any sense from that post. John, your thoughts on TC here?
Yeah. No matter what, you're always going to get every couple of weeks one of these Casas quotes that, and when he says these things, we all know for a fact that he 100% believes these in his head, and good for him. That's how he should be thinking. But from the public perspective, all of us are going to take it as like, dude, shut your mouth. Nobody cares what you think. You still haven't played a full season of baseball. You haven't done anything since the second half of 2023, where granted he was great in that second half, and I don't blame him for turning down at the time contract extension talks. But another quote that is from him over this what is this? This is also from today. And also in that Cotillo article. He said, I'm not sure and this was him on his current health and timeline, and if he's going to be ready for opening day. He said, I'm not sure if it's for the major league team or for the minor league one or here in the FCL. He said, I still believe that it could be in MLB if everything goes perfectly over the next couple of weeks with my rehab. I still have a couple benchmarks like sliding and running bases that I haven't tackled yet that I want to feel perfectly comfortable going into a game, having done multiple times and recovered from, and then over weeks felt like I've developed that skill again. But my health right now is in a really good place compared to where it's been in the past. From that, like, it sounds like a normal human being talking, which, we get, it's kind of 50-50 at this point on what we get out of him. And, at the end of the day for Casas, the Red Sox need a thumper in the middle of the lineup, and he's the only guy outside of maybe Roman Anthony or Contreras that, at least we won't be seeing him in April when he'll be able to wear the shiesty during the games. But I hope that he, I hope that he is healthy at some point sooner than later, and I hope that he could contribute, because I'd rather see him in the lineup than Masataka Yoshida.
I mean, I think he, I hate to say this, but he obviously offers better potential. And I hate the word potential in sports because it's disingenuous, but he has more potential than Yoshida can produce you, at least from a power standpoint. But, at least Yoshida can make better contact. I'm just sick and tired of the nonsense from this kid. It really is. I mean, I don't understand.
There's understand. Shut up and play.
Yeah,
shut up and play. But he can't even do that, Jim.
No, I know. And Thayer has said that a million times. Just shut up and play. Let your play be your talking. Actions speak louder than words. People have been saying that for 100 years.
Because they think that we hate the guy because he's different. Has nothing to do with that.
It's about production.
If you just go out, you hit the ball, you win games, we're fine. It's the extra stuff that drives me insane.
Look, Curt Schilling had a big mouth, but Curt Schilling backed
it up. 100%.
Okay? So, I didn't go around saying, hey, I don't like what Curt Schilling said about I don't do any of that, because he went into Yankee Stadium and he says, I can't wait to shut up 38,000 people. He had that aura and he had that positivity about him, and he delivered. And that was the biggest thing. This kid hasn't done it. I don't know if he ever will. But before we take some comments, I want to just 30 seconds on this little happy exchange. This is Alex Bregman's Instagram post, and this has been circling Twitter quite a bit. Nick, you take it first.
Oh, sure. Thanks. Appreciate it. The other thing that's kept me up all week, this is actually, in case you didn't know, the Christmas card of Rafi Devers and Alex Bregman. They already made it. They already have it self-addressed. It's already stamped. It's going to 4 Jersey Street, Boston, Mass. Attention, John Henry, Tom Werner, Sam Kennedy. There it is. Your Christmas card's all done. They're going to mail 1 million of them and say thank you for getting us out of our misery here in Boston.
John.
But in all fairness, this was done on purpose by Bregman. It's a shot taken to the Red Sox is what it is. Shots fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question. John.
Yeah, Nick took the words out of my mouth. It's a complete dig at the Red Sox, and can you blame him for posting that? Absolutely not. It's
wonderful.
From his perspective, from the people that hate the Red Sox for making this picture a reality, it digs into your chest. Nick said it makes him lose sleep. It's horrible. There's no reason why this picture should exist with these guys in those uniforms, and especially Devers. Bregman's, he did what he wanted to do, and I don't blame him for wanting to go to Chicago, but over the offer that the Red Sox gave him. But it just really reflects on, I think it perfectly resembles what has gone wrong with the Red Sox organization since post 2018.
Look, my thing on this is this. If you want to look at it from one dig versus the next, there's obviously some sort of bad blood between the Red Sox and between Alex Bregman. Now, you can say it's the contract. I mean, it was 165 million, 170 million is what he signed for. If you want to say it all centered around that no trade clause. Look, I kind of believe I hate Sam Kennedy. The only time he's telling the truth is when he's sleeping, right? I think the first time that he ever told the truth was the first interview that he gave that said if Alex Bregman wanted to be here, he'd be here. He didn't. He either didn't want to be here or he wasn't going to settle for anything less than a specific bar. And there was no turning around on that. It was either his way or the highway, and that was the end of it. And whether this is a pissing contest between Sam Kennedy and Bregman, I don't know. It probably is, but at the same time, it's Sam Kennedy. I don't. What does he do here? He does nothing, but he's a poster child for John Henry, and that's all it is.
He's a puppet.
And
Sam Kennedy is behind the reason why this organization is the way it is right now.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, you've had two constants that have been with us since 2002, John Henry and Tom Warner. Larry Lucchino, rest his soul, is not with us anymore. And ever since Larry Lucchino was gone, Kennedy has stepped in. And as soon as Kennedy has stepped in, that is when the train went off the tracks.
Because Kennedy doesn't want to win. Kennedy doesn't want to win. Larry Lucchino was a winner. He wanted to win. He had that vicious blood in his system. He didn't want, the evil empire. Go back and forth with anything you want. He had that desire, like George Steinbrenner. Those days are over. Hal Steinbrenner is a chameleon. He's a shell of his father. So it's just that stuff doesn't exist anymore. And I don't know if it ever will.
Yeah, I think that Sam Kennedy and the entire FSG group wants to win, but they want to do it on their terms, and their terms don't align with how this organization has won 4 championships in the past 25 years.
No, it doesn't.
And I think that's the biggest problem. They want to be like the Diamondbacks that go to the World Series on an 88 win season. They want to be like all these wild card teams that have gone deep, have had these deep playoffs run. But when you're a big market team and you have fans that expect you to act like a big market organization, you have to live up to those expectations, and they haven't. And this is the result of that, is this picture.
And this is why Fenway Sports Group and John Henry and those guys should sell the team, because they're disinterested in putting a above average talent or premium team on the field each and every year. I mean, look at what the Dodgers do, and look at what their GM said. If you're gonna, he said something to the fact that if you're gonna try to essentially win the free agent battle with the contract, you're not going to get the player. I mean, in so many words. So it's unfortunate. Moving right along to comments. Let's see what we got here. Anything good?
Comments weren't very good tonight, I have to say. There were some people in here who were quite rude, to tell you the truth. And personally, I didn't appreciate some of them that were in here tonight. Yeah, I'm going to shots fired at you, some of you, because some of you clearly have not watched this show before and think you know it all. I highly suggest you go back, dial it up, then come back in here and then chirp at me.
Yeah, I'm not going to put some stupid ones on there, but Groovy Weenie says, I love the Martinello Minute. John has great takes on my opinion. Absolutely. John knows his stuff.
Thanks, Groovy Weenie.
No, Pasha, you're good. You've been perfectly fine.
And sports in general, I totally agree. I think John has the best takes. Moving right along. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna address this. People have accents, douchebag.
Pack your card, have it yard.
Listen, hey, it is what it is. If anybody listens to Tom and Quincy too, you're gonna make fun of him because he'll probably beat your ass. Betty, we love you.
Betty loves Betty. Okay, Betty's cool.
Yeah, Betty's
like
Pasha. Jim isn't like that. I don't know what she means, but let's see here. Last time I heard it was from Chris Sale. He was right. That's another thing. How about Chris Sale getting that contract? It's just another gaffe that this organization did. And look, I'm on record. I got a little bit tired of the Chris Sale, Chris Frail type of thing, but man, oh man, you look back on it now and we could use that guy.
What I think is funniest about Sale is, go ahead, Nick.
You knew when he left. You knew the tides were going to turn on him, and he was going to be fine.
What I just find funny about Chris Sale is every single time he's gotten these contract extensions, it's always been after a down year for him.
Down year, I know.
It makes no sense, but
he's never been a free agent ever in his career either. Did you guys
Yeah.
know that? He's never been
Yeah.
a free agent.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Nick, you wanna
good
dra-
for him. He'll be
Nick-
he'll be a Hall of Famer in 10 years, and the only question is what
He'll have a Braves hat
logo is
on.
going to be on the hat.
Yeah, if he wants to stick it to the Red Sox, he'll have a Braves hat on. Nick, you
Oh,
want to
this
address
is an
this one?
interesting one. I didn't see this, but now I can. So Betty, here's the long story. I'll give you the short version. So was Sam Kennedy involved with this? Yes. Was he the ultimate player? No. It actually had to do with Tom Werner and Sean McGrail of Nesson. Tom Werner wanted Dave O'Brien as his guy. And what happened was Don Orsillo was they had to figure out a contract that was going on. If you want to be really mad at this, it's actually Dave O'Brien. Dave O'Brien is responsible for why Don Orsillo is with the San Diego Padres right now. Dave O'Brien backstabbed Don Orsillo and basically demanded the TV job. Otherwise, Dave O'Brien would have been leaving for the national gig with ESPN. So Dave O'Brien banged on Tom Werner's door, Sean McGrail of Nesson at the time as well, and said, here's what's happening. Here's what's going to be done. If you don't do it, I'm out of here. So Tom Werner was like, well, I guess I'm choosing you, Dave O'Brien. And Don's gone. And at the time when this came out, Jerry Remy was this close to leaving as well, too. People don't talk about that enough. Remy was that close because that's how angry he was. Orsillo was. Orsillo almost walked out and said, screw this, I'm done. After what Dave O'Brien did to him. This was during like the 7th inning of a game, mind you, in game, during like a bathroom timeout in commercial. Dave O'Brien, knock, knock, knock. Hey, Don, just want to let you know I got your job next season. That's what happened. People don't want to talk about that, but that's the truth. It's sickening. It's sickening. And Dave O'Brien should be ashamed of himself for what he did.
Yeah, that's really shitty. I mean, the more I hear and the more that leaks out, the more I don't really care for Dave O'Brien.
Don got screwed, and he's a really good guy who was beloved here in Boston. Still talks to us all the time as Red Sox fans. There was a story that came out, I think it was about a month ago, about it. I guess his wife did some sort of story about how heartbreaking it is for him. This will be year 10 without him. How much he loved Boston, how much he loves the team. Will not root for what happened for the Red Sox again. Who would after that? But still roots for the Patriots. I don't know if you saw that whole Super Bowl thing that he posted and everything. He's one of the good ones.
I think
he's one of the good ones.
He's still a Red Sox fan at heart, but he's just not going to probably embellish
Not
it.
with this ownership group.
Not with this ownership group.
Yeah.
And I follow Don. Don follows me. Nick, I think he follows you too. John, I don't know about you, but
Working on it.
We chat quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. When I've posted, my heartfelt
I'd love
things
him to
on
come
Don,
on here. I'd love him to come on and just tell his story. I really would.
When I do post anything that has Don involved, he always likes my posts. So we know he's reading. We know his heart is still, in this area. So, but unfortunately, we can't always have it the way we want. So, with that said, I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. I'd like to thank Nick and John for being on today. And if you haven't signed up for a membership on our website, it is in the ticker down below, redsoxdigest.com. From there, you can get daily game analysis from the night before. I've been starting the spring training games already with a daily article, and of course all these podcasts and shows live, and the audio will be available. It's also available, of course, on Apple iTunes podcasts and Spotify, and of course YouTube. A couple other points that I want to mention. We do have a giveaway for the end of March. I think it's March 24th is when MLB The Show 26 comes out. You can go to my Twitter feed to find out how to sign up and get entered into that drawing. What you have to do, it's very simple. You have to follow everybody on our show, Nick, John, Curry, Thayer, and myself. And then you have to take a screenshot showing that you unfollowed the Bastards of Boston Baseball. And make sure that you send me that screenshot. And the email address is theredsoxdigest@gmail.com. So go to my Twitter feed for that. And some lucky winner will get a copy of MLB The Show 26. Right now, we have 305 people who have entered into that already. So astounding numbers for people that want a better show. Also, during the season, I think we're going to have some sort of, I haven't figured it out yet. Still talking to the crew on how we can do this, but I think we're going to have a star of the game giveaway and raffle. More particulars will be on our website and then obviously on Twitter, exactly how that's going to run. But it's probably going to be something like, before every game begins, you type in who you think is the star of the game, and then we'll pick a star of the game on our live broadcast. And if there's a match, you're entered into the final drawing. So we'll figure out how that's going to be. It could be a season-long thing. It could be each month, 6 months in the season. So, but more on that will come along as the spring training continues on. So with that said, I'm going to thank you guys for being on. We love you all. Have a great night, and we'll see you on our next broadcast.